Welcome to Smash Writing. I'm Paul. This is Anthony.
How you doing?
And today we are continuing our trend of going through the Missions Impossible. Over the last several weeks, we've been reviewing every film so far to the series. Now it brings us to Mission Impossible 5, Rogue Nation. Interesting title, and so forth. So, here we go. We are now talking about Rogue Nation. Here we are introduced to several new characters that will actually carry over into the next film. One and foremost, so we start with Ethan Hunt investigating in the Syndicate. And the Syndicate is kind of revealed to be, shocker, rogue agents who took all their secrets and put them to pull and like, look how this reel is going. Look how this reel is falling apart because the people that are bossing us around is making it fall apart. So they form a terrorist group called the Syndicate, which is active agents basically serving as a double agent type of thing. But in this case, it's not good agent being bad for the greater good. It's kind of like the flip. They're being bad, but their good is being the cover. So, Ethan and his team is getting really close to pinpointing all these agents and getting them all arrested, blah, blah, blah. What then actually happens is while they're all doing this, the U.S. government is still dealing with the aftermath of Part 4, Ghost Protocol with the with the events in Russia. This is where, you kind of get introduced to Alec Baldwin's CIA character where it's kind of on point to where he doesn't want MIF to exist anymore because their old ways, their mask and stuff like that is actually doing more harm than good. But Ethan Hunt, he's so deep into finding the Syndicate and all of this that he doesn't care, even though now they are disavowed. Disavowed means they were once agents that are no longer agents, but they're not in any type of trouble. They're just, if you see them, you're like, well, that might be a person of interest, right? When something big goes down. So here we go. So instantly Ethan, gets captured. What else is new? But he's tied up, about to get tortured from somebody called the Bone Doctor, which, if you're a criminal and your nickname is the Bone Doctor, it's kind of safe to say that you're probably not a real doctor that should be working with bones. Just saying. But a mysterious woman gets him out of the thing, but nobody knows whose side she's on. We later learn that her name is Isa Frost, and she is a disavowed MI6, which is, their CIA type of stuff, more famously James Bond stuff and all that. She's disavowed, so she's going so deep to kind of get reinstatement, basically, which she's disavowed, but she's not disavowed. She has a job, but it's in one of those things where she has to prove that she is who she needs to be. But she lets Ethan Hunt go, and we learn that, she is for the good, and she's trying to bring down the Syndicate as well, because, these super agencies of spies and agents, they don't work together and give each other's information, even though they're on each other's turf. That is something very traditional, so this movie does not veer away from, the more common sense things. So anyway, in the aftermath of Part 4, Benji is signed to computer work. William Brent is signed to basically follow Huntley around, which is, Alec Baldwin's character, CIA director. And it's revealed that in the aftermath of them being disavowed, Ethan Hunt escaped. He's now considered to be suspect in a lot of stuff because he ran away when they tried to arrest him. So now we are going back to the traditional thing of Ethan Hunt being accused as a suspect, as a villain, despite all of his good doing. And it's also revealed that William Brandt and Benji has to go through weekly lie detector tests to determine if they have if they heard Hunt in the 6 months that the agency has been disavowed. They are able to lie and beat the test. I think it is kind of revealed like they know he's out there, but they speak in code so they can indirectly lie on the questions. So, once again, we learn that the leader of the syndicate is called Lane, played by Sean Harris. Who, Isa, she has to get all this information to somebody, which that's where she puts her with Ethan Hunt and Luther, and because now they have to work together to get this information out there that Lane is the leader of this terrorist group, which is made up of agents. So now it's up to like them to fight through all these tasks to get Lane arrested and consumed, and it's even talking about bringing bombs into play to kind of sell to get the Lane, and it works. Eventually, even though the mission takes a lot of twists and turns, ups and downs, because you're dealing with agents on agents and agents on agents. I know your move, you know my move. Let's keep playing this game. And it eventually leads to Lane being arrested and being brought to justice. And that is Rogue Nation kind of in a nutshell. Now, I do feel like this series is getting lazy while focusing on other things. The stunts are getting bigger and better. And I think when you're talking about the stunts getting bigger and better, you're turning your attention away from what else going on. How many times now out of 5 freaking films are you going to accuse the character of Ethan Hunt as being a criminal? You're telling me Alex Baldwin characters Huntley as the CIA, whether he just became the director or not, you're telling me like they're instantly going to throw away this whole agency and ignore what they actually did, and then flip it and accuse them of being suspects. Then you turn around and give Benji and Brandt jobs in the CIA. Kind of a contradiction, because they had everything to do with what happened in Part 4 as much as Hunt did. But you're ignoring that fact. Yeah. Why is Benji and Brandt okay, and you're putting Hunt as the suspect? Makes no sense. Even with the Isa character, once again, she gets the phone to be on the team of Ethan Hunt. Yeah. But, she's so deep in the syndicate. And it's crazy because, like, you're dealing with agents that disagrees with their boss's take on how the stuff is being ran and so forth. And I totally get that. But you don't think that they may have people inside your own group twisting and turning things? And to have Isa's character be so close to Lane, who is the leader of the syndicate, when it's all said and done, like, really? Like, you couldn't figure this out, but he's supposed to be some type of super agent to run this rogue nation of agents. So, I don't think it makes sense for Huntley to go after Benji and Brandt and Hunt and all of that. I don't find it, and Luther, of course. I don't find it makes sense that Lane couldn't see Isa for what she really was. And once again, this is now the second movie in a row that they have scenes in the opening credits. To me, that makes no sense. Now, I said they up the antes of doing stunts. And I do appreciate that in the long run. I don't think this was a step down in previous films, but we are getting to that point in 5 is that you're not offering me anything new to the series. Yes, you are upping the stunts. You're putting the wow factor in. And a lot of people probably sit here and get blinded by the wow factor. And yes, I'm not saying it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that it's not... it didn't wow me either, but I still have to look at all the other details of this plot, and I see that the wow factor may have just literally carried the inconsistencies with what this movie wanted to tell. So this is Mission Impossible 5. I'm overall giving it... I think I'm sticking with 85%. I really do.
Same reason, because of the way it carried on from the last movie, or...
I just like... I'm sitting there and I'm like... I'm wondering... like, what can they do more for this franchise that's getting stale? You know, I don't think they know what they're doing to make this more exciting, because once again, and you know, like I said, we haven't watched Dead Reckoning, and we will watch it down the road, I'm sure. But we're talking about in the moment right now. I'm literally seeing 4 out of 5 films that makes the good guy the lead bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that. And then you're giving scenes away in the opening credits. Why am I going to sit here and watch this movie? Right. Now, throughout the series to this point, the pacing was fine. And, you know, for the time length, they got through it. And I didn't have problems with that stuff. So I'm not going to I didn't want to mention that over the last 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. So the pacing's fine. And that's why, honestly, despite me seeming like I'm hating on these films, I'm giving it a more presentable grade, because the biggest thing that they're doing is they're repeating things. But, you know, you look at the non-story things. Okay, character developed, there wasn't much there. Pacing was great. They've always been paced. There's been enough of things to carry the timing to where you don't get bored with the films. So, okay, that's great. The character development starts to fade, whether it's a on-camera issue or behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And I just think this film continues that trend. It doesn't do anything for the series except make you money so you can go on to the next film.
Right.
Tom Cruise being Ethan Hunt, outside of part 2, where it got cheesy, it didn't seem cheesy. The character of William Brent is kind of somewhat disappointing because he then takes a back seat. Once again, I get it, that's the story, but why have them be there then? You know, if you know you're making them take the back seat. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work for me. The Isaac character, you know, was a good touch, and, you know, once again, before watching the 6th film, I think to myself, okay, here we go. We're talking about a female character getting introduced to the team. How long is this really going to last? Is she going to be back for Fallout? Mm-hmm. We shall see. I did get the funny feeling that this was going to be... Because, remember, we got introduced to the Syndicate in part 4. Mm-hmm. So, at least the way they introduced it, you knew that this was going to be more than one film. So, talking about 6, you know, Mission Impossible 6 Fallout, the title makes sense, you know, because now what happened to this? Because, you know, and we'll talk about that next week. So, overall, I'm giving this film a 85%. So, back-to-back 85s. I just feel like they're on a repeat. That's what I'm getting with this this series is that they're providing with the wow factor, but everything else is kind of a repeat. And that's why I can't really see myself giving it more. The wow is there, yes, but I can't talk to myself and say you should give it more. I can't justify it. So, until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you soon.